A few days back, I did report that Masabatha had exited ECG, and there's a message that she posted on her Facebook page. That's kind of a very interesting message, looking at who Masabatha was back in ECG. And so, bear in mind that Masabatha had, she pastored some pretty sized church under Prophet Shepherd Vushiri. Now, these particular churches that she particularly mostly for a person like myself, it's Kempton Park. That's the church that I knew her to be pastoring. And so this particular message that she posted on her Facebook page has my interest, and y'all tell me if what I am seeing in the message kind of sends you some messages as well. It's the Rick Reality Show. We do daily Christian commentary videos. If it's the first time over here, do be sure to check out the other videos that are down in the pinned comments, and I'm going to check you out over there. And so, as I've stated, that this particular stories, I'd heard about Masata while she was still in Kempton, when there was that entire miracle thingy, the oil thingy. I spoke about it, and it was her particularly. And so, it is interesting to see a message like this coming from her. And the message was posted on Facebook. And this is what the message said. Okay? And so she says, you have been hearing a lot of I have done this for you. You are where you are because of me. I made you. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been here. Don't worry. You are about to enter a season that only God will take the credit for. Doing life with God, as she posts it over there. And so for me, it was like, yeah, it sounds like we're talking about certain people here. Now, why do I say that? You guys would remember that when the other 5 pastors got fired back in 2020, you'll remember that this tone of Bushiri taking credit for everything was very much written into those messages. Now, I did try to look up those messages from way back then. Unfortunately, even I lost them. I'm sure that I could find them if I look for the episode. I do still have my episode. I don't throw away episodes, by the way. I put them in a hard drive and I keep them away. So I'm sure I could still find them. But if you can remember, there was a voice audio where Bushiri mentioned insubordination, and particularly that this particular insubordination, it was people who were starting WhatsApp groups and saying things about him being false. Now, why is that interesting when I'm reading this particular message that Masawata wrote right here? The tone of I made you, the tone of you are here because of I put you there. It's not a new tone. In the messages that we saw from back then in 2020, those pastors mentioned that there was an issue of when they would do hard work out there, whether it be gathering funds or helping local church members, whatnot, all those things, the credit still went to Malawi. Okay? That was the issue back then. And you will also remember that when we mentioned this particular subject with the relation of the Zambian pastor, that was the same thing. When you'll remember Kilimanjaro pastor, the church grew, he took the church, he left the ECG all Khwajes. Bushiri was very angry, made an entire episode about it. What was the issue then? This particular thing that he has made people. After the Kilimanjaro pastor actually exited, he even said it in the message, that these churches are because of him. These churches, now, which is why I think this particular message, it's speaking of spiritual papaship there. That's me. Ne? She didn't say that. Ne? Yes, don't worry. I am the one who's saying that's who she's talking about. Because the tone of him saying that He is the reason why people are where they are. That's something that Bishiri has done several times. He said it's because of his anointing that churches grow. It's because of his anointing, now, which is dodgy also. There's very cultish mentality inside it. But we're not talking about that. We're just talking about, the things that we know, physical things. It is anointing, unless it means it's Jojo or something. Yeah, anyways, we're not talking about Asikolab. Where we are is this idea that people are where they are because of him. Now, why do I point that particular thing out, that people are where they are? Since we have heard him saying it about the Kilimanjaro pastor, the Zambian pastor that actually left ECG, and the church members refused to follow the ECG and they followed their pastor. The reason why I'm mentioning this in line with Masabatha leaving is because Masabatha has experienced issues like this when she was there, where as a local pastor, she was not appreciated by her local branch to a point where it showed that the branch, one particular member actually mentioned this to me, that Ricky, there was a period where a pastor came from outside, close to Bushiri, whatnot, Malawi, all that. And when he came to the branch, he was more appreciated by the branch more than her, who was a pastor there continuously. And this particular thing, the member did say, she voiced it out, she mentioned it out, or how come it's thinking. Now, you guys would remember when I mentioned the exit of the other pastor, I think it was Hamaskra, I mentioned this issue of churches which do not even understand the finances of ECG are structured for Malawi. And so as a result, local pastors struggle, they suffer, put under debt, even some members, yes, but the pastors struggle under debt, whatnot. Now, this also does go to another story where another pastor in another region also went under debt, whatnot. ECG took no part in that. But he was taking those credits just so that the church could stay afloat. They didn't care nothing about that. That the finances that are in the church are mainly for the headquarters, but they don't take care of the local pastors. I've said this about it. I've warned about it to say that watch out, because this particular system here that's meant to discredit pastors. And also, once a pastor starts mentioning less of the God of Major One, the God of, they can actually get suspended just because of that. We've mentioned this thing, even in the rules thingy. You will remember in the rules of 2024, you'll remember that those were some of the points. If we see you being dodgy, man, distancing yourself from the anointing, it kind of sends that signal that you are now starting your own. You are straying. Even though a person is preaching the gospel, they will have issues with you just because you are no longer saying God of Major One and thinking. This particular one, it's not a new thing. I've seen several pastors suspended, questioned, or get into trouble. Remember I think was he from Cape Town or Durban? That pastor who left, is it Kali or what? I forgot his name. Who left, and the issue was exactly that he was no longer in obedience of the ministries, what. It is that whole thing of God of Major One type of things. And so the appreciation of local pastors, there's a lot going on. And for her to have mentioned this particular thing, to say the whole I made you thing and whatnot, for me, it sends the red flags that, hi, kunjalo. Ngempela kunjalo. It's like that. The idea that Barcelona, if you read 1 Corinthians, okay, chapter number 3, it tells you that no one made anyone. You didn't make anyone. He says, it is God that gives the increase. He says, I planted, so and so watered, but it is God that gives the increase. When people start taking credit of other people's growth, it becomes very concerning. All we are, but it's just but servants, only that God uses as his vessels, but it is God that grows people, it is God that grows branches. But because the credit is been taken, go back to the 2020 pastors that left ECG, that was the issue. took credit for everything. Does it not sound like this particular message? I thought that was quite an interesting one, that she posted that message there, which kind of corroborates what we have seen. Maybe she might not be saying, me, I'm connecting the dots. Connecting the dots is kind of like my thing. I'm connecting the dots for this one as well. It's the reality show with daily Christian commentary videos. Be careful where you are. See, we are stupid until it happens to you. And also for the members that keep, they keep commenting otherwise. Can't you see pattern? Are you that brainwashed? You have to question yourself. Maybe you are brainwashed. Why is it that we show you pattern and you can't see it? Be concerned that you can't see pattern when we are showing this is the pattern. Can't you see everyone is questioning the same thing? But hey, to each and every single man his own. It's Ricky. We're done. Other episodes, don't take down in the pin comments. Y'all have a